We've just heard from two young, passionate groups about their hopes and fears for the Trump presidency. We had one group who says they want to stop the Trump agenda, the other hoping to see the president really fulfill all the promises he made. And now, here on The Point on Growing Up Trump, this special segment, we've brought them all together. Thanks again for being here. Blair, what did you think of what you just heard from those young Trump supporters right behind you?
I think that, one thing I want to say is that with Trump saying something in private, integrity is about not what you do in public, but what you do in private. And we want a president with integrity, and I don't feel that's something we have right now. You
don't feel that President Trump today has integrity?
I do not feel that.
Ellie?
Look, I think one thing that we need to understand going forward is that people really don't care about these certain issues that we try to make touch points. I think I heard the word nothing burger once on one of your shows, and this is just more nothing burgers that we continue to put out. The election's over, it happened, people voted on the merits, and they want to hear about jobs, they want to hear about infrastructure and immigration.
Amani?
Listen, Trump has the support that he does because fear-mongering is the political equivalent of clickbait. Obviously, it's going to work. Obviously, it's going to energize people. And the thing is, we've been throwing entire minority communities that are already targeted under the bus because of what? We want to talk about jobs? Like, what is the trade-off here? Like, we are literally saying that we can sacrifice an entire part of the fabric of our society just to continue elevating an already privileged part of America.
I would like to say that this is something that's really been happening in America before Donald Trump's presidency, and it's not really about white people attacking black people or Dominicans attacking Haitians. It's honestly happening amongst ourselves. So black people, we're attacking each other much more than a Caucasian is attacking the black community itself.
Yeah, I don't know about that necessarily, but I think what's important is that young people are doing more across racial lines, across gender. We don't necessarily have a traditional American set of values that our parents do. The millennial generation is the most diverse and progressive in American history, and we're going to get in the streets, we're going to run for office, and we're going to make change in our electoral process.
Nicole, take a look at some of the issues as a young woman who's been excited by Donald Trump. These are some of the issues that millennials, that people under 30 say they care about. Stressed about finances, 64%. Student loans making a big impact, 79%. Thinking that you have to tap into whatever little you've saved for retirement because things are so bad. What do you think Donald Trump's doing for that?
Well, Donald Trump has already talked about lowering taxes. He is reducing federal regulation. He's already made a law that says for every regulation that is proposed, they have to get rid of 2. So I think that helps businesses. As millennials, we've kind of gotten used to the fact that it's difficult to find work. And I think that's a shame because that's not the way that the country has always been.
Jasiri's shaking his head.
Oh, absolutely, because not only, you're talking about jobs. This is a president that came out against a livable wage. You know what I'm saying? This is a president who, it's easy to say that rhetoric is just rhetoric when the rhetoric isn't directed towards you.
Okay, minimum wage doesn't help. That just makes businesses able to hire fewer people. But I think I'm half Hispanic. I have a lot of black friends. I have a lot of friends who are Jewish. I have all kinds of friends. They all want one thing, which is jobs, good jobs, not bad jobs. And you do that by making an economy that's flourishing and making it easier for entrepreneurs to hire people. We want to get the government off the back of people who are creating jobs in this country, and that's what Trump wants to do.
This is the same rhetoric that we heard under George W. Bush, and the whole economy almost really collapsed internationally. He did so bad on the economy that he wasn't even invited to the last 2 Republican conventions.
Something in medicine they call iatrogenics, I think we're seeing here. This is when you try to...
no idea what that means.
Well, it's when you harm when you're trying to help. And I think a lot of the liberal policies are very well-intentioned. You think of a minimum wage and it kind of gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling, but it doesn't actually help. It ends up hurting. It hurts small businesses, and it hurts people who are looking for jobs and looking for that entry-level
But it certainly helps the people that are working at a minimum wage to make sure that they have food for their families.
Yeah, the ones who are able to keep their jobs. Look at what's happening at McDonald's. You're already seeing them putting in machines in place of human workers because it is simply too expensive to keep hiring people. Liberals don't understand the difference between good intention and good policy.
Richie, then Paul.
Yeah, so far, the Trump administration shows every sign of governing incompetently. The president promised a health care plan that would cover everyone, and instead he put forward a health care plan that, according to the Republican-picked Congressional Budget Office, would cost 24 million Americans their health insurance. And he was going to cut Medicaid by $800 billion and literally redistribute it for tax cuts for the rich.
By show of hands, I'm curious, how many of you at one point since, say, 22 have been on your parents' health care plans? Okay. So, say, Paul, is that something that you would worry about if they really do repeal? As you know, there's a big movement to just repeal the whole thing.
I think it'll be a really big disaster if we don't replace it with something that works. I currently work at White Plains Hospital in the emergency department, and we have an EMTAL, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, where we can't turn away a patient no matter if they can pay for their health insurance or if they have health insurance or their ability to pay. So I'm going to feel the blunt of this.
Do you think Donald Trump understands healthcare when he said, oh, no one knew it was this complex?
I believe I have the utmost confidence in his ability to surround himself with people that know healthcare. What a lot of people don't, this is going to be my mantra, kind of just getting people involved. Donald Trump is our president. He's our representative. He's not the person with all the answers. It's up to us to reach out through our congressman and try and help him make the best decision that works for us.
Nicole mentioned the wall. This immigration conversation was so huge. How do you feel about the fact that he's taken sort of two swings on the travel ban, and whether it's a perfect idea or not, none of it's implemented because it got blocked in the courts because of the way they rolled it out? Does that concern you from a competence perspective?
I don't think necessarily. I think, he's working on it. It's a very new administration, and I have confidence in Donald Trump that he will get everything done that he said he would.
Yeah, the first rollout or the first version of that plan was not well thought out. That's why they reintroduced it. But everyone understands what this is about. This is about keeping us safe. People have seen what's happened in Paris, what's happened in Europe. We don't want that here. So I think people understand, yeah, the first version of that bill was not great, but the intentions behind that bill are known, and I think they are working on it to iron out some of the problems.
Several people look like they want to get, so we're going to go down the line here. You got to go down the line, but then we'll get a response from Kristen as well. But go ahead.
I think that the propensity for Americans to say, oh, this makes us safe, you're completely ignoring the fact that we're not safe. We have mass shootings at a rate that no other country sees. It's ridiculous. And so to say that, oh, we have some foreign enemy of a different religion that's coming in to harm us, it's completely unfounded because we have violence in America and it's often perpetuated by people who look just like the president.
Paul, and then back to the front.
This is why I was going back to my previous statement about, literally, I honestly think black-on-black crime is really underreported. We really want to shed light about a police officer killing a black man, but we have cities such as Chicago where it's the normal. You don't even put it in the newspapers anymore. It's like at a bottom.
No, it's on the news all the time.
Yeah,
the violence in Chicago is definitely on the news. But also, black people who kill other black people go to jail.
Absolutely.
The reason that Black Lives Matter is in the streets is because there's no accountability for when police kill black people. That is the conversation that Black Lives Matter is having. It's not about the violence in the inner city.
You and then Jasiri.
I'm a strong advocate of basically the black community basically telling each other that Black Lives Matters, that you have other options as opposed to being ridiculed by being called white for being able to talk and articulate your thoughts in a professional way, that you have other options on the street as opposed to what's being pushed to you on the media airways.
Do you think Donald Trump hit the right balance in the campaign, that yes, police risk their lives and their lives matter, but a lot of black men, according to the data, are shot down in ways that other groups aren't? The data does show that.
I believe he could have done much, much more in terms of him getting the proper liaisons to address the message. I think it takes someone that you could really identify with to really, that you could really take the message from.
I just want to know where the All Lives Matter crew is. Where's the All Lives Matter crew when we're talking about building a wall and keeping people out, a wall that the United States is going to pay for, your taxpayer dollars to pay for, when it's, white supremacists rising up and committing violence. We don't see Trump tweet about everything else, but he doesn't tweet about that.
We don't even see them when a white child gets killed by police.
Right. Girls are missing in D.C. We don't hear the All Lives Matter crew. I mean, you're talking about turning somebody away at a hospital that doesn't have health care. I thought this was a country based on Christian values. I mean, is that the type of society that we want?
Kristen and Richie.
Yeah, you want to talk about All Lives Matter. I think the one thing that Trump can do that we haven't even spoken about yet that will really help all lives is bringing in school choice. In these inner cities that are plagued with violence right now, you're seeing minority children affected by poor education at a higher rate than all other children, and that's because they're not afforded the opportunity to go to the school of their choice. And you have these Democrat politicians like Obama sending their own kids to expensive private schools in limos while they deprive minority communities of school choice. These public schools are failing.
The limo might be a security thing. Go ahead, Richie, and then Amani.
Point about immigration. I think one of the darkest moments in American history was when the United States turned away Jewish refugees fleeing Nazi Germany. And as a result, many of those refugees died in the Holocaust. And now we find ourselves treating Syrian refugees with the same heartlessness that we did Jewish refugees a few decades ago. What's supposed to distinguish the United States is the idea that all of us can become American regardless of whether we're born here, right? Immigration is at the heart of who we are as a country, and Donald Trump is an attack on that American idea.
Amani and Ellie.
Here's the thing, you know, almost humorously, we were talking about good intentions versus good policy, and yet we just spent the past 5 minutes listing out all of these failed policies that Trump has attempted to enact within his first 100 days alone that have obviously been embarrassing at how badly they have been. And the thing is, I don't care what kind of friends you have, if you're friends with Muslims or black people or whoever, if you're supporting someone who is exploiting those communities in order to get to where he wants to be in a position of power, then that is you renouncing our American values. Like if we're talking about bad policies, we're at a historic low, not only with the approval ratings that Trump is suffering from right now on a national scale, but also with this travel ban, i.e. the Muslim ban, which was implemented solely to discriminate against an entire religious background from entering our country, completely contrary to the supposed values we're touting.
Ellie, and Kristen gets a response because she was cited. Go ahead.
Look, as a Jew, I find it astounding the myriad ways that Democrats find ways to connect what happened in the Holocaust to what's going on today in many different ways. The Syrian refugee crisis is absolutely not comparable to what happened with Jewish refugees. And I think what's encouraging is the fact that Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, has indicated that he wants to put up safe zones in Syria. Let's make sure that it's safe there.
Kristen?
Yeah, you know, I'm hearing a lot of anger and a lot of fear from the left. And I think to blame for that, I think we can point our fingers at the media that has gone out of its way to completely kind of, you know, distort a lot of Trump's policies. For example, the Muslim ban, it's not a Muslim ban.
But you are here in a setting by at least one media news organization that's tried to give a platform.
Exactly, and I'm so appreciative of that. But I think one great example is this notion that his travel ban is a Muslim ban. The most populous Muslim countries in the world are not even on this list.
For political reasons. But yet again, how is it that we have an exception to the Muslim ban for people that come from a Christian background?
Which was changed in the second ban. Paul and then Richie.
Yeah, I was going to say that in regards to the current political climate, a lot of people are just so divided right now. A lot of people are in campaign mode and they're being obstructive, not even trying to work with President Trump. It's almost as if they're being 2008 Obama haters.
Well, honestly, the reason why people don't want to work with Trump, and it's not because people are comparing to the Holocaust for tragedy reasons. We're comparing to the Holocaust because we're in a moment in time right now where future generations are going to be asking how we let this happen. Exactly in the same way that we're asking how the Holocaust took place, and that's the problem.
Big question. Richie, briefly.
We're referring to it as a Muslim ban because during the election he said that he wants to ban Muslims. So we're only